What if your potted plants are dying for reasons you can't see? You water them, feed them, even talk to them, and yet your container plants still fade away. The leaves droop, the soil stays soggy, and before long, another pot joins the compost pile. What if the problem isn't your care, but what's happening beneath the soil? Container gardening looks simple, but it's its own ecosystem. Smaller, faster, and far less forgiving than an in-ground bed. According to the University of Florida Extension, 2023, more than 60% of container garden failures are caused by preventable issues: compacted soil, poor drainage, and inconsistent watering. When I first started gardening in pots, I thought I was doing everything right. Then one July morning, my basil wilted and my petunias turned yellow, despite my daily watering routine. It wasn't neglect. It was a lesson in science I hadn't learned yet. Today, we'll uncover 7 hidden mistakes that quietly kill container plants, and the research-backed solutions that will turn every pot on your porch into a thriving, living garden. Number 1, the soil trap. It always starts with good intentions. You're standing in the garden center, looking at stacks of soil bags. One says topsoil, another says garden mix, and then there's that pricier potting mix. You think it's all dirt anyway. Why not save a few dollars? But inside a container, that shortcut turns into a slow disaster. Garden soil works beautifully in the ground because it's part of a living system, full of worms, microbes, and drainage pathways. Once you scoop into a pot, though, everything changes. There's no earth beneath to filter water, no natural aeration, no microbial network to break things down. Within weeks, garden soil compacts into a dense, airless brick that suffocates roots. According to the USDA Plant Soil Systems Division, 2022, compacted soil in containers can reduce air porosity by up to 70%, cutting off oxygen to roots and killing beneficial microbes. The result? Stunted growth, yellowing leaves, and plants that seem to drown even when watered perfectly. The fix is simple and worth every penny. Always use a high-quality potting mix, not garden soil. Look for blends with peat moss or coconut coir for moisture control, perlite for aeration, and composted bark for structure. If you're reusing last year's soil, fluff it up and mix in fresh material each spring to restore its life and lightness. Because you're not just buying dirt, you're investing in oxygen, balance, and the unseen life that makes your garden thrive. And even the best soil won't save your plants if your pot turns into a swamp from below. Number 2, the drainage disaster. No way out for water. It's one of the quietest killers in container gardening, and it fools even experienced gardeners. You water faithfully, thinking you're doing everything right. But below the surface, your plant's roots are drowning in silence. Without proper drainage, every watering becomes a slow flood. The top of the soil may look dry, but deep inside, excess water collects at the bottom of the pot. Roots sit trapped in stagnant, airless soil, a perfect breeding ground for rot. Within days, they begin to suffocate. According to Cornell Horticulture Research, 2021, roots need oxygen to function. After just 48 hours in waterlogged soil, root cells begin to die and release ethylene, a stress hormone that causes yellowing, wilting, and leaf drop. It's not that your plant needs more water. It needs a way for the water to escape. The fix is simple but essential. Always choose containers with proper drainage holes. For plastic or resin pots, drill 1/4-inch holes spaced a few inches apart on the bottom. For ceramic or terracotta, use a masonry drill bit and light pressure to prevent cracking. Love a decorative pot that has no holes? Use it as a cache pot. Plant in a smaller nursery container with drainage, then set it inside the decorative one. Remove it for watering, let it drain fully, and return it once dry. And please, forget the old gravel layer trick. The UC Davis Soil Physics Lab, 2022, found that gravel actually traps water above it, creating what scientists call a perched water table. It makes drainage worse, not better. Finally, raise pots slightly with plant feet or bricks to allow air circulation and prevent rot on your deck or patio. Good drainage isn't about looks, it's about breath. A pot that can exhale will keep your plants alive longer than any fertilizer ever could. But even with perfect drainage, one simple watering mistake can undo it all. Number 3, the watering whiplash. Too much, too little, too late. You water faithfully every morning, feeling like a pro gardener. Then you take a weekend trip and come home to basil that looks sunburned and droopy. The next day, you panic and drown it with water. A few days later, it's yellow and limp again. Sound familiar? This isn't neglect. It's inconsistency, and it's one of the fastest ways to exhaust a container plant. Container gardening magnifies every small mistake. In the ground, roots can chase moisture deep into the soil. In a pot, they're trapped, fully dependent on you for every drop. When potting mix dries out completely, it shrinks and hardens, pulling away from the sides of the container. Water you pour in simply runs down the edges and right out the bottom. According to Texas A&M Horticulture, 2020, completely dry potting mix becomes hydrophobic. It actually repels water rather than absorbing it. Alternating drought and flood conditions damage fine feeder roots, reducing nutrient uptake and stunning growth. The result is a tired, unevenly hydrated plant that never quite recovers. The fix? Think of watering as rhythm, not reaction. Check moisture 2 inches below the surface before watering. If it's dry at that depth, it's time. Water slowly and deeply until it flows freely from the bottom. That's how you know the entire root zone is soaked. If the soil has dried and pulled from the edges, place the whole pot in a basin of water for 20 to 30 minutes to rehydrate it evenly. Add a thin layer of mulch or coconut husk chips to slow evaporation, and cluster pots together to create a mini humidity zone that keeps them from drying so fast. Consistency is key. Plants, like people, thrive on routine, not rescue missions. And just like people, they also need room to breathe. Which brings us to mistake number 4. Number 4, the overcrowding overload. Too many plants, too little air. We've all done it. Packed a pot so full it could grace the cover of a gardening magazine. For a few glorious weeks, it looks perfect, lush, colorful, overflowing. But by midsummer, that showpiece turns into a battlefield. Leaves yellow, flowers fade, and half the plants seem to give up entirely. It's not your watering, and it's not your fertilizer, it's space. Inside a container, every inch matters. When roots have nowhere to go, they start competing fiercely for oxygen, moisture, and nutrients. Above the soil, overcrowded foliage traps humidity, inviting mildew, fungus, and pests to move in. According to the University of Illinois Extension, 2022, overcrowding can reduce air circulation by up to 80%, creating the perfect storm for fungal spores to thrive. Even healthy plants can suffocate when packed too tightly. The fix is simple. Give your plants room to grow, not just survive. Follow the filler, spiller rule for decorative pots. 1 tall centerpiece, the thriller, 2 or 3 medium fillers, and 2 or 3 trailing spillers around the edge. For edibles, remember the golden ratios. Tomatoes, 5-gallon pot minimum. Peppers, 3 gallons. Herbs like basil or parsley, no more than 3 plants in a 12-inch pot. It may look sparse at planting time, but give it a month. Those roots will expand, and your pot will fill out naturally with healthy, balanced growth. Patience now means beauty later. The best gardens aren't crammed, they're composed. Even if your plants have all the space they need, they still need energy, and this next mistake slowly starves them from within. Number 5, forgetting fertilizer. Container soil doesn't magically renew itself. Once the initial nutrients are gone, every rainfall and watering quietly washes more away until your plants are living on empty. The leaves fade, flowers slow, and growth just stops. Not from neglect, but from hunger you can't see. In the ground, plants can send roots deep to hunt for food. In containers, they live in a closed system, a tiny island of soil that's quickly stripped of life. According to the USDA Nutrient Cycling Study, 2023, container soils lose up to 70% of soluble nutrients within just 4 to 6 weeks due to leaching. Without replacement, most flowering and fruiting plants stall out right after that point. The fix is easy, but consistency matters. Begin fertilizing 1 month after planting. Use a balanced water-soluble fertilizer, October 10th, 10, at half strength every 1 to 2 weeks. Or, for low-maintenance care, mix in slow-release granules at the start of each season. Prefer organic options? Try fish emulsion, seaweed extract, or worm tea. All add gentle nutrients while feeding beneficial microbes. And one key note for herb lovers: avoid overfeeding. Too much nitrogen encourages leafy growth but dulls the rich flavors you planted them for. Think of feeding your plants not as indulgence, but as kindness. You're replacing what rain and time quietly take away. Healthy roots and steady nourishment create vigor you can see, stronger stems, brighter leaves, and blooms that actually last. But even a well-fed plant can falter if it's sitting in the wrong home. Number 6, the pot problem: wrong container size or material. It's one of the easiest mistakes to make, picking pots for their beauty instead of their biology. A container that's too small quietly suffocates your plant's roots. One that's too large keeps soil soggy for weeks. The result? A slow decline that looks like bad luck, but it's really physics and plant physiology at work. According to the Michigan State Container Study, 2021, roots in undersized pots show 40% less nutrient absorption and dry out twice as fast due to limited soil volume. On the flip side, oversized pots hold too much water for too long, creating ideal conditions for fungus and root rot. Choosing the right container means balancing air, moisture, and space, not just matching your decor. Herbs and flowers: 8 to 12 inches wide and at least 8 inches deep. Tomatoes, eggplants, or peppers: 14 inches or more. Roughly 5 gallons of soil minimum. When repotting, size up gradually, 1 or 2 pot sizes at a time, so roots can adjust and expand evenly. Terracotta pots breathe well, perfect for humid climates. Plastic or resin containers hold moisture better in arid areas. On hot patios, light-colored pots reflect sunlight and protect roots from heat stress, preventing what horticulturists call root cook. Your plant's pot is more than a vessel. It's its home. The right size, shape, and material create the comfort and balance roots need to thrive. Choosing the right container is like finding the right home. It's where your plant's story unfolds. And even the perfect pot can't save a plant if it's sitting in the wrong light. Number 7, ignoring sun and shade needs. You can water perfectly, feed faithfully, and still fail if your plants are simply sitting in the wrong light. It's one of the most overlooked causes of container decline. Sun lovers baking in deep shade and delicate ferns frying on a bright patio. Every plant has its own light recipe. Too little, and photosynthesis slows. Too much, and the leaves scorch, curl, and fade. According to the UC Davis Plant Physiology Lab, 2022, photosynthesis in most vegetables drops by over 50% when daily sunlight dips below 4 hours, while leaf tissue can begin scorching above 95 degrees Fahrenheit at the leaf surface, even when the air feels cooler. The fix? Observation. Spend 1 full day watching your patio or balcony, morning, noon, and evening, to track how light shifts through the seasons. Full sun plants like tomatoes, peppers, and petunias thrive with 6 to 8 hours of direct sun daily. Shade lovers like ferns, begonias, and coleus prefer 2 to 4 hours of filtered or dappled light. Use your container's mobility to your advantage. Move pots as the sun's angle changes from spring to fall. Light is your invisible fertilizer. Give plants the right dose, and they'll repay you with brighter color, stronger growth, and longer blooms. The beauty of container gardening is flexibility. You can adjust what nature can't. Sometimes, the difference between struggling and thriving is just a few feet of sunlight. Now that we've fixed the 7 silent killers, let's explore why container gardens are so fragile and what American research reveals about keeping them healthy and productive for years to come. How to make them thrive. Container gardening isn't guesswork, it's science in miniature. Understanding what happens below the surface is the difference between constant frustration and effortless success. According to the USDA Climate Hub 2023, container soil heats and cools 3 times faster than in-ground soil. Those rapid temperature swings stress root metabolism and water absorption, especially in shallow-rooted herbs and flowers. The Cornell Soil Microbiology program found that healthy roots depend on oxygen-rich conditions where beneficial fungi, called mycorrhizae, form symbiotic relationships that help plants absorb nutrients. When soil is compacted or overwatered, these helpful microbes suffocate, leaving roots weaker and more dependent on you. The University of California Extension 2022 adds that container-grown plants lose nutrient balance and microbial diversity twice as fast as those in the ground. In short, potted plants rely entirely on a gardener's touch for stability and renewal. Container gardening isn't lesser gardening, it's precision gardening. It rewards consistency, observation, and the gentle discipline of paying attention. Once you understand the science, every pot becomes its own living world, small, self-contained, and full of beauty that reflects your care. Container gardening teaches more than how to grow. It teaches awareness. Beneath every leaf is a quiet reminder that small spaces can thrive when given balance, rhythm, and a little science. According to the National Gardening Association 2023, gardeners over 55 who maintain container gardens report 30% higher success rates and significantly better emotional well-being. It's not just about flowers or herbs. It's about joy within reach, right on your porch or patio. So before you blame your black thumb, remember, it's never too late to start fresh. The right soil, the right pot, the right care, and a bit of curiosity are all it takes to turn struggle into growth. Keep planting, keep learning, and let every container remind you that life grows best when it's given room to breathe.